We're on.
You win some, you lose more.
Natural disasters, postponements, refunds, and sandbags. What a way to start the footy season. Welcome to AFL Today. I'm your host, Alex Donnelly, joined on your far left by a guy who's just here, ready to watch some footy on Friday night. It's Leo Mullaly. How are we, Leo?
I'm dacking my pants on Friday night at the moment. Yeah, I would not turn around on camera. It's not a pretty sight.
Oh, Hawks, yeah.
And a guy who just, I don't know if he wants opening round to start, end, or finish because, well, that means North Melbourne's about to play. It's Liam McAllion. How are we, stats guy?
I'm very good. North Ball's fired up. I'm actually very happy with that intro. That was good. I didn't see that in the run sheet, but that was good.
You are also a guy who would play in a cyclone.
Oh, that would be fun.
For the love of the game.
For the love of the game, I'll play in rain, hail, or shine, or cyclone, of course. Actually, Category 2, I think Gerald said it was. If it was Category 3, I wouldn't play, but Category 2, right?
He's a cyclone expert.
Yeah, big cyclone guys, the stats guy. We are, of course, brought to you by Tabs. AFL missed by 1. If your disposals leg misses by 1, Tab will still pay you out as a winner. Download the Tab app. What are you really gambling with? So, on today's show, as usual on the Midweek Madness, because this is the Midweek Madness show, we have the news ticker, the midweek winner and loser. And of course, we have some special guests and interviews, which we're going to try and bring out through the year. Ollie Florent from the Sydney Swans will join us on the show today ahead of the opening round clash against Hawthorn, which by virtue of just pure perfection, the Swans are starting the season once again, as they did last year.
Yeah.
And then we will have gun journalist from the Daily Telegraph, the surprisingly tall, the really handsome Lachlan McKirdy. He was looking really good in his suit last night.
Very good. We always have tall people with good hair that would jump on the show, so that's good.
And
makes
really
up for the lack of
of height from you.
I was going to say hair.
We'll also talk some SuperCoach Vibes as well. We were meant to do the Thursday night preview, but as said, it's been postponed. So Stats Guy and I will have a look into some long-term season futures for you there. But of course, make sure you follow AFL Today on X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for more footy content all season long. So now make sure on YouTube you hit the notifications bell as well as subscribing. So anytime we do a video, it lobs up. Leo, it's Aussie Rules Today on Facebook, I believe.
That is correct.
Look at that. Just seamless.
The synergy.
Great.
Synergy.
Yeah, up until Friday, we're good. Then we're just going to fight. Anyway, news ticker. It's been pretty big news that the season launch has been postponed by 24 hours. There's a cyclone!
Can you do like a cyclone warning for us, Alex?
No.
Okay. Well, there we go.
It's
Used to be a
Like a casting.
I was about to say, it's like the, if there's an emergency, we will play this and get the hell out of the stadium.
Yes.
Evacuate.
Cyclone Alfred is just going to absolutely tear up Brisbane and in Queensland in the next few days. So Brisbane and Geelong, which was meant to open the season Thursday night, tomorrow night, is off. It has been pushed back to round 3, I believe. Both of those teams had a bye. They're probably going to play on the Saturday night.
Yeah, I think they've done that well at least, yeah.
Essendon and the Gold Coast, which was Saturday night, it has been postponed. The AFL has got themselves into a bit of a pickle because their buys aren't at the same time. But having a look on social media yesterday, people who are looking at the fixtures, there's a game in round 16 and round 14 that can be flipped because of buys, because obviously we don't know the round 16 schedule yet, because obviously everything from round 16 onwards is fluid. We don't have times for that yet. So
if they can't figure it out, is there any way that they'll just give them a draw? I don't want that to happen.
No,
but they just give them a draw?
figure it out.
They'll make them play midweek, or you just play it in the preseason bye, the finals bye.
People on Twitter have worked it out already for the AFL. The
I
AFL
know.
just look at this and be like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
We'll take 3 days to think about it. Though,
And it works. And in more injury news, because it's this season, so we didn't have the biggest one mentioned there. Errol Goulden's broken ankle.
Yeah,
I thought that was last show. Sorry.
No, that was last Friday night.
That's just some Sydney anti-bias.
He's also not the biggest injury. There's another
fair
big
to,
name.
yeah,
It's the second biggest.
Yeah, but a broken ankle will have Errol out for. I'm just saying July. I've got no idea what the timeline is.
Indefinite.
Yeah, but it's like he's in the cast for another 2 weeks, and then he sees the surgeon in 5 weeks' time. So that gets you to basically the middle of April. So I'm saying July at the earliest.
Yeah,
That's a big out as well.
All my Swans mates are just like, oh my God, Errol. Just if he's back in July, be happy.
Yeah.
True. But that's massive out. But at least you got depth.
GWS, because they're playing this weekend, so we'll talk about it. Jesse Hogan smashed his thumb on a toilet door on Friday night.
Seems legit.
I was literally about to say, I'm not going to go into it, but that seems a little bit sus. He likes a big session, that man.
Yep. And in a shock to absolutely no one, Jake Stringer did a soft tissue because he'd been training the house down all summer.
I have a conspiracy with this. I reckon he did this at the start of preseason. They've just said it now because they want to build the hype. And they're like, every week they're asking him, "You all right, Jakey? You're good?" He's like, "Nah, still cool." And now that they actually have to take him out of the team.
There's a lot of conspiracies going on.
Yeah, you're
at
a big
GWS.
conspiracy guy.
And that forward line, that I thought would obviously fire around Jesse Hogan, isn't looking that good at the moment.
It's a little bit sketchy.
A little bit wee.
And Bont, after apparently being fine when he said his calf was sore 3 minutes into Thursday night's game against the Hawthorn. Nah, he's out for 6 weeks, mate. It's cooked.
He looked fine though. He was walking off. He was chatting to Mooney. Said he was fine.
But I'm not surprised he said that. Yeah.
Marcus Bontempelli, not a medical doctor, confirmed.
But he could be. He's that good looking though.
He really is.
How does that correlate?
Oh, there's a little correlation.
You look into his eyes, you're like, you can do whatever you want. Is that the
he could. He's that good.
Give him a doctorate. He could be a doctor of football. He's that
in
good.
Footscray, they would let him do anything.
That's true.
Let's be honest.
An honorary doctorate.
As someone that lives in Footscray, correct.
There we go. You live in Footscray? Did not know
No,
that.
it's not
Next to
around there.
it. He doesn't want to give his address.
My address is
All his fans.
Have we got any other news that we need to hit?
Not really, because everything's just sort of gone towards the cyclone. Oh my God, there's a cyclone. Oh, we can't play. Can we play? Lachie Neale said last night that he wouldn't have played if the games went ahead.
I mean, fair. It's a natural disaster.
Exactly. I think a lot of players would have gone like player welfare and all that type of stuff. And even fan welfare. Like, you don't want someone falling out of the stadium or something. Like, geez. like they could just get blown away.
well,
Stats guys thinking that they've been like catapulted just out and just flying
Or
across.
like Wizard of Oz type. Just strapped to the fridge and you're all good.
Yeah, lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my. Anyway, on that high note, we're going to speak with let's be honest, he's our new best friend and probably the best looking person that's ever been on this show. It's Ollie Florent. All right, ahead of opening round this Friday night, and let's be honest, I'm pumped about it because my beloved Sydney Swans are kicking off the season as they should, and we are joined by Ollie Florent from the Swans today. G'day, Ollie.
G'day, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's all good. How are we feeling ahead of Friday night, kicking off the season again? Most importantly, you kicked the first goal of 2024. Are you going to do it again in 2025?
Yes.
Well, if I get the opportunity, I'll definitely go on goals, but the odds are probably not.
Yeah, I reckon jump on that. Yeah, why not?
Just a quick dish off from Chad, even though he's not really one to dish off. But how's the preseason been? Obviously, unfortunately, a couple of injuries running through, but sort of apart from that, everything seems to have been going well as far as results and structure.
Yeah, the preseason's been really good. Bit of a refreshing change with Coxie as the head coach, and it's been a solid, challenging preseason as much as it's been enjoyable as well. So I think we've got a really good balance with how we've sort of rocked up and enjoyed ourselves and worked hard at the same time. But yeah, there has been a few hiccups on the way with a few key players, going down, and I guess that's sort of the nature of the sport, and sort of the younger boys or whoever gets an opportunity to step up into an important role.
Yeah, good call. You talked about Coxie obviously coming in. How's the transition been between Horse, Longmire and Coxie? Different coaching styles and the vibe around the club changed at all? Or, what's the differences, do you think?
Horse is, a great, unbelievable coach. I've had him my whole career, and I've enjoyed every single moment of being playing under Horse. And with Dean, he's also sort of been there for a lot of my time. But I think there isn't a hell of a lot of a difference, probably just in sort of the schedule and a few positional changes and stuff like that. The boys are, enjoying playing in a different position that what they might not be used to. So,
Yeah, nice.
And obviously coming up this Friday night against a Hawthorn team who last time you played them, they were at the lowest of their lows. You gave them an absolute pantsing at the MCG before they decided to start winning some games. Some differences obviously between now and then. And how do you prep for them? Also, obviously, they've added in Josh Battle and Tom Barras as well. So they're going to be very tall down back.
Yeah. This week, today, we've got a bit of a review, I guess, and preview, for going into the game, how we're going to sort of play them. We got training today, so don't know a hell of a lot, but we do know that they've got some really good players in all sort of positions. Their new recruits, obviously, really important and good players, so we're going to have to definitely keep an eye on those sort of players. But I think the main focus for us is just sticking to how we want to play our football and bring our strengths and make them sort of think about us. And I think that's sort of been a really important message over the preseason as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and finally, just on the footy, and we'll have some more fun after this. We'll get rid of the footy stuff after this. Obviously, as we mentioned, a few of those injuries going around. Who's been sort of tearing up the track in preseason that wasn't in that best, 23 to 26 last year, that's sort of ready to either have a breakout or really make their stamp on the Swans in 2025?
Yeah, I think sort of two players spring to mind. I think Corey Warner and Angus Sheldrick are definitely taking their game to a next level. They've had unbelievable pre-seasons. They look so strong and fit and healthy, and they're going to have a really good year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that. And obviously off field, it's important, I suppose, to keep yourself busy and get away from footy when you can. You're a part of Doozy Drinks, which is a very fun social media follow with obviously Will Hayward and Haynes. Like, how have you found that? Just, I suppose, taking away from footy and stepping into the world of business, especially in what is a pretty saturated market with the seltzers.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I guess sort of the main reason why Will started the business was to just sort of have a crack at doing something off field and keeping our sort of not just being a footballer, and sort of when it's all said and done, you finish the game and you sort of, your whole identity has been football. So it's been really, really good, fun move for us having a crack in the alcohol world. And it's been obviously challenging. Like, there's so many hiccups that you sort of have to endure during the journey, but we're lucky enough to have a lot of help behind the scenes, and me and Will have sort of progressed from filling the car up and driving out to every bottle of
Love that. Yeah.
pub that we can sort of find. Now they're sort of in warehouses, and we've got people doing that for us, so it sort of takes that sort of load off it a little bit, which enables us to focus on our footy a bit more.
Perfect. So we're talking about outside of footy. A lot of AFL players like to travel in the off season. Is there anywhere in the recent years where you've just gone, blew you away, or just any off season travel that just was awesome for you?
Yeah, in the previous one, I went to Paris.
Awesome. Yeah.
I've done London a few times, but I think I was really excited about doing Dublin as well. The most
beautiful
fun I've had there in a long time, and went by myself actually for the first couple of days and met a guy who actually worked for Doozy Drinks.
Perfect.
Back in Sydney, he moved back to Ireland, and we've sort of built a really close relationship. So he took me out on a night out up in Dublin, and put me to the sword, which was a lot of fun.
For Guinness.
Avoid those temple bar and all the tourist traps.
Awesome.
Have to get some tips of Paris. I'm on my way to Paris in a couple of months, so can't wait to get over there.
Very nice.
So with that, there was no going to a Fenerbahce game like Errol, getting involved in a potential riot with some flares.
No, I've already ticked that off the list.
Lovely.
Me and Errol went to Man City versus Liverpool a few years ago.
Awesome.
It was a fun trip. It was a very fun trip. I'm a Man City fan, and Errol was a Liverpool fan, so we sort of butt heads a little bit, but they got the win.
Has he been throwing a little bit of lip this year with Liverpool likely to win the title, and obviously City have slipped with a few injuries?
He lets everyone know about it.
As every Liverpool fan does.
Yeah,
I don't really care too much. It's way too early for mine.
Fair
exactly.
Cool.
It just updates me.
Yeah. So we had James Rowbottom on the show last year, and for some reason we decided to give him the nickname Cheeks. It's pretty obvious as to why we did. But at the club, what are some really funny nicknames that we might not have heard? I know there's a few that we had that social media piece a few weeks ago, but what are a few of the others that we might not have heard?
So we got so stupid. We got,
that's all we want. That's all we want.
Riley Bice.
Yeah.
Gordon Fried Bice.
I love that. Yes, can we take that?
That's
I'm
great.
With that. That's awesome.
He's got a few.
Fried Bice.
Yeah, it's the simplest ones that are the best ones, and that's the best thing. I completely enjoy that. So no,
that's great.
Yeah, and with that, because you're playing up against Hawthorn this weekend, then they're known to they throw a bit of lip. They're fun. They're youthful. They're Gen Z. They're all that.
Yeah, they'll throw a bit of lip. Yeah.
From the club, who talks the most trash on the field and just gives absolute lip? Like I know Buddy when he played, the famous quote was just to some Port Adelaide guy was like, "Who are you? I'm about to kick 9 on you." But who's taken over from his mantle?
There's a few candidates. I think, Will Hayward gives a little bit of stick out in the ground.
Nice.
Sam Wicks is role. He's going back into defence this year, so who knows? He'll probably have a few headbutts with some smaller opponents. Hilarious. But yeah, I think those two probably the main ones, I'd say.
Yeah, you can almost see the Wizard and Sam Wicks just getting in a scrap on Friday night, and I think everyone just stand back and watch it because it'll be great. But just heading ahead towards sort of the season, like with yourself to sort of take your game to another level. Obviously, the disappointment of 2024. What are the things that sort of you've bought into, I guess, getting prepared for this season and maybe even just before a game, just to hopefully give you those little edges and avoid certain lapses in games?
I think definitely the mental side of the game, just getting myself into a really sharp, relaxed sort of mindset before I play, and not sort of feeling the weight of how the expectation and the pressure you put on yourself, and just sort of buying into that. And we've got some really good people helping us with that this year, and I think that's definitely going to be the edge that I need.
Lovely. Sort of the off-field stuff again. I heard you don't mind a bit of basketball. Is that correct? Or the NBA and things like that? I just read on that.
I used to play a little bit of basketball. To be honest, I don't really care about the NBA and stuff like that. But we've got like a basketball court here. And
Perfect.
I'm at the facility. It's unbelievable, and just got myself a new pair of Kobe's, and we shoot around with Justin McInerney and a few of the boys, and mainly just threes, and it's good fun.
Who's the best at the club probably at basketball when you're playing one-on-one?
We just do like 3-point contests, and like Robbie Fox is a gun.
Oh, really? There you go.
I would not have expected that.
No. Can anyone like dunk? Or there'll be a few players.
A few
boys.
I mean, there's Ruckman stats.
Yeah,
guy.
I meant those boys, but of course they can.
No, and just I suppose ahead just for the rest of the season personally, as we'll wrap it up. Like, what are your goals? Obviously, other than I suppose the premiership's the obvious goal, but just for you, what would be a feeling of success for 2025?
I think just. Like just, I guess, being fully present in the year, and just riding the highs and lows, and not sort of, I guess, attaching myself to results of football, and making sure I just enjoy it and connect with my teammates, and just understanding that if we're going to win it, our best is good enough, and just sort of leaving it to the universe, and
I like it.
Absolutely.
Don't mind it. It's actually like a very nice sort of way to look at football, because at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of blokes kicking around a bit of leather.
Yeah, you got to be chill about it. Yeah.
Not to take it too seriously, but that's been Ollie Florent. Ollie, thanks for joining us this week, and good luck against the Hawks.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me on.
A big thank you to Ollie Florent and the media team at the Sydney Swans. Goddamn, that man is handsome.
Yeah, I think he's more tan than maybe even Sheasel. Like, he's just a very good-looking man.
Yeah, that's what happens when you live near Bondi. Just naturally tan.
True.
Fortunately, I never got that when I lived in Bondi. I just got sunburnt. That's why I had to move to Melbourne. Anyway, time for some midweek winners and losers of the week. We'll start off with the winners, because we like to go on a positive note. Stats guy, who are the winners this week?
I think Leo said this before, but teams that don't have to play in a cyclone. That's a big tick.
That's a pretty big win.
That's a pretty big win. Just, you don't have to rock up. You don't have to worry about like your safety or anything like that. They're probably thinking, all right, we get another week to prepare. Like you said, you're going to touch on later. There's just an extra week to prepare, and you don't have to worry about cyclones. Opening round is a bit weird anyway, so that's a big win. You can say this one, because you're a big advocate of it.
West Coast have finally made the amazing decision to get rid of the Birds of Tokyo theme song.
Hell yeah!
No more folksy beat along, no pump up whatsoever when your average football team runs out onto the field. Please bring back, like, when I think of West Coast theme song, I think mid-2000s, Cousins, Judd, Kerr, Cox, all running out.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah, like, it's just, it's something that will get you pumped up.
Nostalgia
and
as well.
And it's an enjoyable song. The Birds of Tokyo one sucked.
Yeah, you're all for that?
I don't really care that much, to be honest.
I do. I think that's why I went to him, because I knew he'd care.
Big hater of some
Alex
songs.
cares more about the random stuff in footy than the actual footy.
I don't think I could even tell you like half of West Coast song, to be
I was about
honest.
to just say we're flying high a lot. But as you saw on TikTok last night, I've taken personal offense with Gold Coast's new kit and how bad that it looks.
It looks horrible.
We can talk about that in the losers, actually.
Yeah, sure.
And finally, Stats Man.
I just put this in there because Melbourne surprised me in the preseason. Melbourne fans, they're winners. They get to see Track and Clary firing. Obviously, Clary didn't even have a preseason last year, was so off his game. Track literally almost died. So the fact that he kicked all those goals, he's had a lot of disposals on the weekend. I'm very happy for Track. He's not just doing his cooking.
It's a preseason game.
No, I'm not saying they're going to be back to their best, but the fact that they're both on the field contributing to the Melbourne Footy Club is very good because the fans.
The Melbourne Footy Club.
Yeah, I know.
He's brought out the big.
I don't think I've ever said that.
Gary Vaughn.
I know. I don't think I've ever said that. Anyway,
I see your point, but like
Melbourne fans at least they can see the future.
They can have a little glimpse of what the season could be.
I'm not saying they're going to average 30 and a goal, but they'll both be a lot better than last year. Yeah. And especially
it beats not dying.
Exactly. Petrarca's alive.
That's kind of, helpful being alive and all. Losers. I'm just going to be self-indulgent here and say the Sydney Swans because they have to face a fresh Brisbane Lions next Friday night at the SCG.
That is
I didn't
true.
even consider that.
It was the first thing I was like, I want them to play. Like, obviously, take out the natural disaster. I hope it's 100 mils of rain and all of their legs are super heavy next week against the Swans. Now I get a fresh Chucky Cameron and Lockie Neal and
but
Ashcroft.
you'd be conditioned though.
But it's that rest versus rust thing.
I think that's not too bad, but I know what you're saying. You would have rather than play and then
having cracked in against Geelong the week before.
And I think also like the announcement sort of being delayed by a day because there were rumblings about it being called off. Maybe mess with their preparation a little bit in their heads. I don't know.
Nah.
I don't think it's as bad for Sydney as it could be.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
What have we got? Fans who got tickets to Queensland games. I got a mate that lives up there.
Flights and accommodation.
Flights and accommodation. People have to change that. Obviously, they've emailed so far. I don't think that Ticket Tech and all the whatever it is, Ticketmaster, whichever one it is for the game.
Ticketmaster's Brisbane.
One of them, not a sponsor. But they have said that they can get a ticket to the postponed game. So whatever the next game is.
That just depends if you can get your flight changed and your hotel changed.
And I feel like if you can't, you should get a refund for a natural disaster. Surely that's in the terms and conditions.
I'm pretty sure there's natural disasters.
It's the old acts of God clause or something.
Yeah, there is acts of God, but
clause.
did Ticketmaster have that? I don't know.
Yeah, but it's also like this is why whenever you book a hotel, always book for a cancellation.
Yeah.
I got stitched up with that.
Advice with Alex. That's a little secret.
I got stitched up with that in COVID. I couldn't go somewhere.
Oh.
And they're like, and I'm like, I can't come because literally like you can't.
We can't move. Yeah.
And the guy's like, stiff. I'm like, you're kidding, right?
He's like licking his lips. He's like, yeah.
I need this 400, buddy.
Yeah,
he's like, nah.
Like if you went, you would have probably like ended up in jail or something.
Exactly. I was like, I literally cannot get on a plane. The world is shut down. He's like, nah.
You needed to go with those Melbourne.
God though.
You needed to go with you needed to go with those Melbourne fans that went to the WA granny.
They ended up in jail.
Yeah, but they had a good time. They went to the granny.
I was about to say,
was it worth it?
If you guaranteed that your team would win a grand final, would you take 3 months in jail?
3 months, yes, easily.
I would take 2 years.
You're finally moving out of home, so your parents would be thrilled.
I would hate jail.
Yeah, actually, do we have to pay rent?
No, he's fine.
Okay, then I'm in.
In jail.
There might be a hierarchy of rent.
Also, losers. I didn't mention this earlier. Gold Coast new kit and the team that designed it.
It's horrible.
Watching the Swans play the Gold Coast last Friday night at the favourite stadium in the world, People's First Stadium, you cannot see the logo.
No. Looks like they're just, what are they?
Red.
It was AI.
It was made on paint.
They're wearing red.
I think it was AI. No, they just whack something into ChatGPT.
Maybe.
But also, do you remember a couple of years ago, so we're just diverting quickly to soccer, when I think it was Castor designed Aston Villa's kit, and it looked really wet and heavy? That's what this Gold Coast kit looked like. It looked horrendous.
Maybe they're going for a different target audience. Just, I don't know.
What? Wet?
Yeah, I don't know.
With a red...
Like some people might like to watch them run around if they're wet. I don't know.
Just make the pink and black your home kit.
No, I agree with that. That is a sick kit.
It's great.
Even if they make the red part just yellow, I think it looks.
Oh
really
cool.
Or
Or blue even.
So apparently they're redesigned.
No, I don't like that
apparently there might be a redesign up, but it's not ready till round 6. Like guys, you've just wasted $500,000 on that redo. We would have done it for $20.
Yeah,
we got Gerald behind the camera. He can whip something up.
I'm not even kidding. It doesn't matter if it's Gerald or you or me, or should we make a Gold Coast kit?
Oh no, how about a new logo for every team?
No, just Gold Coast.
Leo, your job as social guy by Thursday morning. So
what? You got so much.
Is to come up with a new Gold Coast kit and logo and put it on our socials.
How about we just change like where they're based as well?
No, keep them up on the Gold Coast. Gold Coast is fun.
I don't know, like
Darwin?
Darwin, yeah.
The Crocs.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I like that.
Yeah,
the Cairns Crocs.
Yeah.
The Cairns Crocs. The Darwin Dingoes.
And their logo is.
We're just gonna go
a
straight.
croc
We're just going straight alliteration here, aren't we?
We are. We're still on losers. There is another loser I just put in here was Bulldogs fans' hopes and dreams.
This is you attacking your family.
Well, I love my family, and
how are their hopes?
Their hopes. My brother, he usually says we're going to win the flag every year. He said we're going to be bottom 4 now, and look, the Bont literally carries this team. They've got so many other injuries, depth, and things like that. That doesn't help. But the Bont, you're like, if the Bont's out there, the Bulldogs have a chance. If it was just the Bont versus North Melbourne, because that's the first game, you'd say Bont has a chance. That's how good he is.
Bont has a chance.
Bont versus everyone else. But they've got, like, they're gonna struggle for the start of the season without him because he is just their legend. Yeah, no good. They're a loser.
Cop that, Western Bulldogs fans.
Sorry,
anyway, we're going to hear from our sponsors. Then after that, we are going to talk to Daily Telegraph's gun journalist, the surprisingly tall and the very handsome and the very dapper Lachlan McKirdy.
Tonight's game's going to be epic.
Missed by one on the AFL? With Tab, you can stay in the game. Miss by one on any disposals leg and Tab will still pay you out as a winner. Tab, we're on.
Imagine what you could be buying instead.
All right, how good's this stats guy? Heading into opening round, and I believe all opening rounds should be kicked off in Sydney because, let's be honest, it's only happened twice, and it's the second year in a row that it's happening with the Sydney Swans starting the season against Hawthorn, as well as GWS and Collingwood on Sunday. We are joined by the surprisingly dapper, he looked very good in his suit last night, the very tall and the very handsome Lachie McKirdy. Lachie, how are we, mate?
What an intro.
Boys, we're finally back. It is an honour to get that intro from you, Alex, and it's an honour to be back like usual for another big season.
It is. So the season launch happened in Sydney last night. You were there. Kind of funny that it wasn't in Brisbane, but also kind of good given the cyclone, of course. What was the vibe like and the chatter like, given, of course, we have had these 2 game postponements and just the general feeling there, I guess?
Yeah, well, it was at Luna Park in Sydney, which is a great spot for anyone who hasn't been. Right on the harbour there, a lot of people getting the ferry in. It's a gorgeous way to kind of to start a lovely. I mean, it still felt like a summer's evening. It's still warm up here in Sydney at the moment, so that was good. But yeah, there was clearly a little bit of anxious energy throughout the last couple of days because there's been a few events in Sydney going, oh, these are going to be the only games that actually go ahead, and obviously that got confirmed yesterday afternoon. Andrew Dillon was there to do a little bit of press beforehand, but I think there was still a really good energy. I mean, there are a few of us just counting on our hands, okay, how many quips are they going to make about 2 nights? Oh, no, sorry, 3 sleeps to go, and good little throwaway lines like that. But I think for the most part that it was a sensible conclusion that they came to the decision to postpone. I think it was the smart thing to do. I think it would have looked foolish. It's much better for it to be sunny accidentally tomorrow night or on Thursday in Brisbane and people go, oh, what have you done? Than for it to be the opposite and for it to be the worst cyclone we've ever seen and the footy to be going on. So I think it was the smart decision, and I think the majority of people will kind of see that.
Yeah, you got to say it's the right decision. We always have a chat down here. A lot of people here saying they hate opening round, especially we're from Melbourne. I said people in Melbourne are very biased, very I don't know, but we're a bit spoilt down here. So what are your thoughts on opening round just as a whole
concept?
Yeah, as a concept, yeah.
Look, in terms of the concept, I think it's an important one. Like talking to clubs here in Sydney, obviously the Swans and Giants, talking to my counterparts who work in Brisbane, and Callum up there, who talks to Brisbane and the Gold Coast, it's almost immeasurable the impact that it has to be able to start this season and start that momentum from the very first week. As we saw, I think the Swans are the perfect example last year. They had just incredible crowd numbers, over 500,000 through the gates across the season, an average of 39,000 for the year. Clearly their best ever year in Sydney. And I think while their form had a lot to do with it, having that big opening round fixture, that marquee match, started that momentum early and is a big reason why they had those numbers. So I think, yes, there are ways we can fix this. There's ways to get more clubs involved and a better way to do it. But I kind of buy into the argument that you look at last year, you had the 4 opening round fixtures sold out, and then you had the record round 1 attendance. Like, it gave people extra footy. It wasn't taking it away. It wasn't Melbourne missing out on footy. It was just giving extra footy to fans around the country. So I think, yes, there could be a few tweaks here and there. I know we saw a few different people go, oh, let's have a Sydney GWS game in round 1 and then have all the games in Victoria. There's just, they will sell out regardless. This is about giving these markets more marquee fixtures to give them fans a reason to come to games. And I think that's what it's doing in Sydney. The SCG is on track to sell out. The Giants are hopeful that it should sell out, even though it's the sort of later Sunday afternoon time slot. And I think it's here to stay for a while.
Yeah, McKirdy saw me tweeting angrily at 6:30 this morning with Eddie Maguire's idea.
You were tweeting angrily?
No, but it was like his plan was basically no Victorian team travels in round 1 and we'll play a Q clash and a battle of the bridge. It's like, come on, mate, this is a terrible idea.
Yeah, spread out like Lockie's saying. You've got to just spread out the big games. You don't need them in round.
Not like Eddie to think of the Victorians, is it? No. Anyway, we'll move on to obviously Friday night, the SCG. Dean Cox takes his first game in charge of the Swans as head coach. Now, he was on a podcast that we're a part of, True Bloods, in the lead up, and he's been doing the media rounds. The vibes around Sydney seem pretty good heading into this. Like, you've been at a lot of training and the scratch matches. How are you feeling from your point of view looking at the Swans?
Well, it was such a big question of how they'd kind of respond from last season, and all reports, and from what I've seen as well, it's given them a hunger, but then a fresh voice in Dean Cox has been the change that they needed. And none of this is a slight on John Longmire at all. It isn't about what he was doing was bad, because clearly they were the best team across the majority of the season and then just didn't show up like they should have on grand final day. But having that fresh voice, a fresh way to do things, and a bit of extra motivation, I think it's given them a lot of hunger. There's an intensity at Swans training that I think we obviously saw at times last year, but to see it this early in the year is a good sign. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good thing for the Swans in total, that you've got a team that wants to kind of prove that that was an aberration. But it's going to be hard if obviously the record's against them, and it's going to be hard to judge until they maybe get back to that stage.
Yeah, not wrong. Obviously, the Swans heading into opening round, playing against the Hawks, or as everyone's saying, the Hawk Ball and things like that. You're already sick of that. But how do you think that matchup's going to go? And just the head-to-head of the young guys going head-to-head, I'm really excited for. So do you think that's going to be a really close matchup? I think it literally could come down to a kick. But yeah, what do you think on that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be close. I mean, we've probably seen Hawks have potentially started years slowly of late. Like, they've obviously worked into seasons. Last year they had that amazing run at the end of the year. They were pretty poor at the start of the year. So it's about whether Sam Mitchell can kind of get that going from opening round, obviously, and even a week earlier this year as well. So I think that'll be fascinating. And then the Swans are also trying a few things. Obviously, we've got the Tom McCartan forward experiment. We've got a few different midfield guys, with obviously Aragould and Callum Mills not going to be there for at least the first month or so. And then you've got a bit of a different defence with Nick Blakey probably playing a bit tall. So it's going to be fascinating to see what those different little magnet moves and how those matchups work for a team that almost it's impossible to completely match up against, because the Hawks have this youthful energy and exuberance where it's like, okay, you never know what to expect. They could just burst out of the gates and hit the ground running. So I think it's a really good matchup to have a side like Hawthorn this early in the year for the Swans. It's a good barometer for where they're at, and I think we'll know in the first 3 weeks where Dean Cox and his side kind of sit.
I can't wait for Sam Wicks and the Wizard to have a who's a more annoying off during the game, because given some of the changes that McKirdy's mentioned, I think Sam Wicks goes straight to the Wizard on Friday night.
That'd be a fun matchup.
But you've talked about that. No Errol, no Callum Mills, Logan McDonald, Hayden McLean, and potentially Brodie Grundy. Dear God, I hope he plays. All missing. What are some of the changes that we expect to see to this Swan side? We've had a couple of the draftees come through. Of course, my favourite, Angus Beef Sheldrick. Like, what are some of the changes that are going to have to be made to this team on Friday night?
I think I'm really expecting Taylor Adams to probably play in that first week. I think he's been a clear standout this preseason. He's put a lot of effort in, and I thought he had a really good physical game. He probably didn't see as much of the ball as he would have wanted against the Suns last weekend, but he had a really good physical game, some really big tackles, and he's trying to bring that intensity as well. And when you've lost a few experienced guys in the middle, he's someone perfectly that you can bring in there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see one of those maybe fringe tall defenders maybe on the bench to start, just so they've got a bit of flexibility there, whether that's a Francis or a Hamling. I think that just gives them a little bit more, okay, maybe if Wicks down back isn't working, maybe if we need that extra tall, that could give them a little bit of help. But yeah, I think for the most part, there's a pretty solid setup. It's just a couple of pieces in the spine that we'll see that's changed. That obviously you got Tony McCartan up forward. You've got maybe if Brodie doesn't play, even though I can hear your prayers from here, Alex, that it'll be Pete Laddams potentially getting that first ruck bounce of the year in the centre square at the SCG. So there's a few options there, and I think the one thing talking to people is that the Swans' depth this year suddenly looks a lot better than it maybe has in previous years, whereas a few other years, like you look at the defence, you look at the forward line and you go, okay, if they lose one guy, they could be in trouble here. We're looking at a team that's got almost a dozen players across their injury list, including guys who are test to play, and you're going, they're probably still okay, which is a pretty good sign of kind of the depth of squad they've built up at the moment.
Yeah,
that's what you want.
And just finally, because we need to talk about it, we'll probably talk about it every time we talk about this year. He was on the front page of the paper, he should be. Chad Warner, the contracts. Personally, my view is he's gone, and I've already mentally made peace. but there's seemingly some rumblings that, his head could still be swayed. Like, obviously, we're not going to get all the information out there, but what is your feeling, but also what do you think will happen with Chad this year?
I think it's funny. A lot of people have said the longer it goes on, the more likely he leaves. I personally feel like it's the other way around.
Okay.
I feel like if he was going to leave, he would have, I think, made that decision, and out of respect to the Swans, his teammates, he would have communicated that fairly early, where I think the longer this kind of drags on, the more it's like, okay, he's thinking about what a future could still look like in Sydney. He's thinking about how it would look if he, as the kind of reports in the last week, that if it's a 2-year deal, if it's a longer term deal, if it's whether he wants to try and get through to free agency. So I think we're maybe slowly seeing the cogs turning. I mean, from my perspective, all the way through, it generally has been a 50-50 that he wants to go home, but he loves the Swans and his teammates so much that that's what's compelling him and making this decision so hard. So the fact that going home hasn't won over yet, I think for me that maybe, don't want to get you too excited, Alex, but maybe it's like a 55-45 that he could stay at the moment. That's where I kind of put it.
Try not to cheer over here.
I was about to say, that moves it from a 100-0 to a 95-5. So I'll take it.
Did you fall for the tweets the other day that said C. Warner's re-signed?
No, because it said
Corey.
CO. So I
saw one that said C. Warner. I almost fell for that. Yeah.
We'll move across to the west of Sydney. The big sound out of the Giants at the moment is that everyone's injured. What is going on out there? Like, Jake Stringer's done a soft tissue. Obviously, Jesse Hogan's broken his finger. You got Tom Green who's done a calf, and then a few other players that sort of may not feature throughout the season injured. But no Stringer, no Hogan, no Tom Green to start the season. That's a concern, especially after Carlton smashed them last week in a trial game.
Yeah, it hasn't been the preseason that the Giants would have wanted at all. And it's been a couple of freak incidents. I mean, you had Jesse Hogan. He was trying to use the bathroom in the bus on the way back to Canberra. And there's a spring-loaded part of the door that apparently is, that's where it's happened. It's just a complete freak thing. And it's very much just one of those things that he almost thought he'd just done a fingernail or something, essentially. He'd broken a fingernail, but the pain just wouldn't go away. He had scans Monday morning and they found a tiny little fracture in his thumb. So it's very much, I think it sounds worse than it probably is, but it will keep him out for at least, I imagine, the first 2 weeks. I think the good thing for the Giants is they've got that early season bye. They've got that round 2 bye before they then go down to take on the Hawks in Tassie. And look, this week will be tough against Collingwood with no Stringer, no Green, no Hogan, a few other players out as well. But I think you look at Melbourne, I think they're gettable in terms of a win for them on the road. They obviously played strong there last year. The Giants have still got a good team. If they can get into that bye 1-1 and then welcome 3 of their most important stars back, they should be okay. So I think it's about just trying to balance it out as best as they can this opening couple of weeks and then kind of just going, okay, our season starts after the bye properly.
Well, Alex on our show is sort of saying they're going to crash down the ladder a little bit. I'm still thinking they're going to be right up there towards the top 4. Do you think the mental toll after last season crashing out a little bit is going to take a toll on them, or do we think they're going to be right up there? I think they're going to be right up there.
No, I still personally think they'll be right up there. It sounds like they've done just a lot more work out of the stoppage and clearance this year. That there's been a few players that have sort of said, look, we maybe haven't done as much match play scenario. We're a little bit rusty in the game type stuff that we've obviously seen in the last 2 weeks and the games against the Swans and Carlton. But they're working on all those little things that clearly were points of improvement that they needed to find. And I think they've got the caliber of players that once you get that full team on the track, it's a pretty... It's a pretty scary team. Like you look at the forward line, that front 6 is just remarkable. The defence is sensational. So if they can keep those guys fit, if you get Sam Taylor, Stringer, if you get those guys playing 20-plus games this year, I think they finish top 4 if they get everything going.
Okay. Well, with that being said, season takes for the year. So your Premier, your Brownlow medalist, and your Coleman medalist.
Okay, well, I better go the same with what I put in the paper.
You can change it up.
Week,
it's
just
fine.
For consistency. You won't want me to change up the Premier, Alex. I'll tell you that because I've gone Sydney as the Premier.
No way. What a surprise.
I've gone a Sydney-Brisbane rematch in the grand final.
Really?
I can't handle that. We were both there. I don't need to live this nightmare
again. A lot
again.
of heart attacks before the game.
I feel like there'd be a lot of Swans fans who maybe wouldn't want to travel down again next year, but it's hard to put all this pressure on a new coach, but I just get the sense that Dean Cox is the change they needed, and they're going to look good as a result. In terms of Brownlow, I've gone the Whisper. I've gone Nick Dacos. I just think, I think if as long as he stays on the field, the Brownlow's almost his to lose, just because he'll look so good in that Collingwood team. Obviously, no to go to start the year. I think they brought in guys like Harry Perryman who will make Dacos look better. So I think there'll be a couple of 3 votes in Dacos that we'll be hearing from Andrew Dillon later this year. And Coleman, that's a tough one.
This year,
yeah, it's tough. I feel like I want to go a bit of a rogue choice. I mean, no, I can't go Riley Thilthorpe. That's a bit too...
we love the thriller.
Come on. I think he's going to kick at least 40, 50.
Well, that's not winning a Coleman.
He needs to get up to 70. He could.
Yeah. No, let's give the Giants skipper a chance. Toby Green, I reckon he's going to get back to All-Australian form, and especially no Hogan, no Stringer to start the year, that he's going to get off the leash a bit earlier in the season and start strong.
See, I did say this to McKirdy during the Swans-Giants scratch match. I was like, I don't want to go overboard, but Joel Amarty's going to win the Coleman.
Yeah, I don't know. He'll have one game where he kicks 9 or 10, and that'll help him, but I don't know.
I don't think he'll win the Coleman either. But this has been great from Lachie McKirdy ahead of opening round this week in Sydney. You can check him out in all the usual spots, the Daily Telegraph, Code Sports, of course, social media does a bunch of great stuff across there covering everything Swans and Giants. Thanks, Lachie.
Thanks, mate.
Too easy, guys. Chat soon.
Big thanks to our man, Lachie McKirdy, getting the good stuff done in Sydney. All right, it is honestly my favourite time of year because Thursday night footy is back, stats guy. I can, nah.
Why'd you got my hopes up? I thought they changed it. The cyclone was gone.
Drop some prayers in the chat.
All right.
Pay, what is it? Press F to pay respects.
Yeah,
that one.
but it's also like, all we want is Thursday night footy every week, and somehow the AFL has found a way to not give us Thursday night footy every week.
Yeah, maybe we should have like an all-star game or just a last-minute state of origin.
Maybe the AFL planned the cyclone.
Yeah.
That's a conspiracy.
That's a real conspiracy.
Yeah.
That's a conspiracy.
You probably believe in aliens as well.
Yeah, let me tell you about aliens.
No more
don't.
conspiracies.
Please don't. All right, so in its place, obviously, because there's no Thursday night footy. So on Thursday night, when Leo, Stats Guy, and Marcus take over the show, that will be the Thursday night teams preview lineup for the whole year, except for when, people go on holidays and stuff, but that is the trio. They will just go through the 2 games over the weekend, plus Carlton's Lockie Fogarty will be joining the show. It'll be a short but sweet Thursday night show, but hey, we're giving you that footy content with what we need. But Stats Guy, in Thursday night previews place, which we'll always do on a Wednesday, we'll go through some season picks for the year.
Why not? We love it with Tab. We'll start off with Coleman Medal. I'll start it off.
Yep.
I'm going Jezza. I said this on last week, so I'm really, really confident on Jeremy Cameron. $9 odds, which I think is really good. I think these sort of future bets, you get better odds, and it's easier to bet on these ones and have a long season. You can barrack for Jezza all the way through. I really like that. So Jeremy Cameron, I think they're going to get more inside 50s. Bit of Bailey Smith. He bombs it in sometimes, but Jezza can mop it up. Jeremy Cameron, he kicks a lot of goals from outside 50. He'll be coming up. I just think he's going to have a really big year. He's been second in the Coleman Medal in 2 of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
He's going to take that next step this year. Yeah.
I'm going with Nick Larkey because I'm a believer in North improving. He kicked, 70, 80 goals 2 years ago in a team that won
73, I think, yeah.
2 games. You won 3 games 2 years ago. I think you're going to be a seven or so wins team this year. If you do that, Larky's going to be kicking a lot more goals. Mm-hmm. He's going to have help in that forward line from Jack Darling, Luke Parker, and a few others being around. The delivery that Sheasel and McKirdy can give to him, even that O'Sullivan looks awesome. Yeah. I'm seeing Larky kicking 70-plus goals this year. While I still think there'll be weeks like he'll kick 5 goals, your team will kick 9, and you'll get pumped.
That happens, yeah.
But he'll still do that and get goals week after week after week, and he's going to be right up there, and he's $13 right now.
$13 is really good. And I know I don't like Jack Darling, but the fact that we just have another bigger body down there.
Tall boy taking a defensive player away.
Because Larky has like 3 on him at sometimes, and I'm like, as a Northman, go, oh, come on, just get off him. But it'll be helpful.
Brownlow.
Yeah, Brownlow. I don't mind your pick, but just a bit of a value bet with Tab. $26 for Lachie Neale. He's obviously won a couple of Brownlows already. He's an absolute superstar. The umpires love him. I reckon he could get like 25 touches and his teammate gets 30 or a bit more effective. And sometimes he gets the votes. Obviously, you've got the Ashcrofts who are going to get a few votes this year, but Lachie Neale is still their best player, I think. He's so good. He killed it in the finals and things like that. $26, I think that's a bargain for a guy that just racks up the votes. He's going to average 30 touches. I reckon he's been kicking a fair few goals the last couple of years as well, which is perfect for a Brownlow medalist. And I just think that's a really good value pick.
I'm going with Caleb Sarong from the Fremantle Dockers.
I don't mind that.
I'm thinking they're going to charge up the ladder in 2025. He comes off 28 votes last year, but you look at him. There was just three. There was 7 best on grounds in there.
Poor, not bad.
If he just starts getting some of those 2 and 3s, 1 and 2s as well thrown in there, that's a guy who can easily get 35 votes. We saw it took 4 million votes for Cripps to win it last year. But he's done that in a team that's gone 12, 1 and 10. They're getting 15 wins. He's getting a couple more votes. That's getting him right up the top there. And I think he's great. I think he's ready for a breakout season. He's $15. I know yes, you're saying he's a breakout, but I reckon he's going to the next level to be an elite A grader.
Yeah, if he wins a Brownlow, you're like, well, that's taking him to the next level. So
exactly.
I love that. Yeah.
Premiership stats guy.
Oh, I hate to say it. I don't like the Pies, but the Pies, Collingwood, I think they're going to bounce back. They've obviously got Houston in the side. They've got Perryman now.
Perryman looks good.
Perryman looked really good. Houston, he can kick a goal off half back. I think they need that. They don't have like the best goal kickers. Myercheck is coming back from an injury. I think he's really underrated. I think everything's just coming together for the Pies. $9 odds, so everyone's around that $7 to $12 mark, like the main teams. But I think Collingwood at $9, I think they're going to push right back up there. Even though they didn't make finals. Hopefully, if they stay healthy, they're going to win the flag, in my opinion. And they got experience. The experienced teams in the last 10 years are often the flag winners. So
still worried about that forward line.
Yeah, that's fair.
Still worried about it.
Myercheck's underrated. I reckon he's going to kick a few.
Yeah, but he was injured most of last year too.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm with the Lions, back to back.
Oh, they get lots of players back as well.
Lots of players back. They bring in another Ashcroft. It's just up to the hippie, Eric Hipwood, to step up in Joey Duckett's absence.
Yes.
Obviously, Joey Duckett has retired. We love Joe Danaher on this show. We pray to be as laconic and as awesome as that dude in our lifetime.
Who's going to go full? Is there anyone like full Joe we did last year? Maybe full Eric?
Eric, yeah.
Full hippie?
Full Eric.
Full hippie.
Full hippie. Yeah, it's Eric because he could kick 6 goals but blast 4 out in the full.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, Brisbane, I think it's going to be a Brisbane-Collingwood grand final, so I don't mind both these picks. But that was one of the best grand finals. I was there. That's one of the best games in the last, I'd say, 15 years.
2012 grand final still the best in my view.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Not bad.
But yeah, okay, so that. And just give us a long term of what you're thinking. And this, you're just being self-indulgent now, stats guy.
I've got my biased North hat on here. Tristan Cherry, he's just an absolute beast. He's my number 1 pick in Supercoach, and I think he's going to be an All-Australian this year. The fact that you can bet on All-Australian with Tao, I love that. There's so many good markets. $4 odds. I think it's out of him, Gawn. You got Rowan Marshall, who was in the squad, but he's injured. Gawn's going to be really good. Who else? Brody Grundy. I think he's a bit up and down nowadays.
He's a test to play Thursday night
and
as
he's
well.
A test. Whereas Cherry just very rarely gets injured. He's got the cool helmet on. I just reckon he's going to fire up. He's very noticeable. Gets clearances, gets tackles. $4 odds. Love it.
I was keen on this before Zach Butters had knee surgery, but Port Adelaide to miss the finals at $1.82. You're taking one of their top 3 best players out of the team. They've already lost their 4th best player in Dan Houston. As Zerk Thatcher's already injured, like Jeremy Finlayson's playing at fullback at the moment, and I think Asava's injured too.
Poor Ken.
Jason Horne-Francis is going to have 30 and 4 every week for this team to be competitive, honestly, because Connor Rozee, as we've seen, he can drift in and out. He's got some soft tissue worries. I just don't see what's going to go good for Port Adelaide here. I think they'll miss the finals. I think Ken will be gone at some stage this year too. I have very low vibes
I reckon
Port Adelaide.
I reckon that's going to keep dropping as well. It already has dropped a bit, but the fact that more people are talking about it, Butters is out, not good for the Power.
Imagine what you could be buying instead.
All right, let's move on because we've got to move on to some other things. Leo, have you got any thoughts and vibes for the season?
I do have a few vibes. I agree with the stats, man. I think Collingwood will win the flag, unfortunately. I think Jeremy Cameron will take out the Coleman.
Oh, you're copying me for both?
I'm copying you, but not for the Brownlow. I think Dacos will win that one.
Yeah, okay.
A bit of a future pick. I just reckon Sam Darcy for 60-plus goals.
Yeah?
Why not?
Yeah.
He looks so good in pre-season.
Jamara's going to miss at least the start of the season. So Sam Darcy's probably... Could he be their best player outside of Bont this season? Sam Darcy.
For sure.
Could be.
100%.
A lot of pressure on a young kid, though.
Yeah, I know. But he handled it really well last year.
Yeah, and who knows what's going on with Jamara anyway.
Yep.
Supercoach, obviously, we get a look at 4 teams this week. So we've seen, now that we saw some actual community series games where they were properly filmed and we could get a good look at some players. What are the thoughts? Because I was going into the season, no Dacos, no Bont. That was my straight-up theory. I'm still rolling with it.
Really?
Still rolling with it.
I don't mind that, you know.
The fact that Bont is out, so I had Bont as my number 1 pick player. He always gets 120, 130 average. I think you have to pick Dacos now because otherwise you're just going to have a lot. Do you have a lot of money left over?
I currently have 122,000 left over.
Got to spend it.
So this is my midfield, and including bench.
Okay.
Brayshaw, Dawson, Day, Oliver, Cumming, O'Driscoll, Sardis, Beef, Sheldrick,
That is the most random.
O'Sullivan, Ashcroft, Kako.
I don't mind.
I don't mind it. I'm not sure about because Brayshaw's a bit cheaper than.
So my theory on Brayshaw is with the SuperCoach points is he's the least likely to leave the Freo midfielders to get tagged.
Yeah, now he is.
That's true.
But Young is going to miss the start of the season.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's why I don't have Young.
I don't mind it, but I think you got to pick Dacos now. I was a bit worried about his injuries. I know it was against Richmond. Not going to look.
It was against Richmond.
But the fact that he
in a pracky game.
Yeah.
If he gets 35 and kicks 3 against GWS, then I'll find a way to get him.
Honestly,
but
fair.
I reckon you could have kicked 2 goals against Richmond.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
I reckon 3.
Don't you play back pocket?
Yeah,
that's the point.
I'll just top it. It's all good.
Leo?
Into the Cyclone. I'm looking. I think this week, one I don't have in my team at the moment, but I want to watch on Sundays Harry Perryman.
I've got him in.
Yeah, at the moment I don't have him, but I could easily make a switch. Just want to see a bit more of his role and his scoring potential, but he's one I'm keen to watch.
Rookies?
Rookie-wise, it's hard to fit them all in the
I know,
midfield,
there's so many good ones.
I have a lot.
I think the midfield, there's so many in the back line, there's
not
literally
great ones.
I've got Bo Allen, Payton, Reed, Leake. I've got to get rid of Travalia because he might not even play round 1.
Everyone was on Travalia, and look, he should be playing, but
I like Leake.
He didn't really show much in the pracky games. He didn't really play that much. I think, for mid-rookies, I've got Finn O'Sullivan for North Melbourne, Sardis for Essendon, Levi Ashcroft, Harvey Langford, Nevitt. And I've gone Hasty and Boxall for the Saints just because I think they're going to play because the Saints have a lot of injuries.
So I've got Garcia in my forward line.
I have Garcia as a flex.
So I don't mind Garcia. Payton, check out our SuperCoach special we did last week. But I've traded him out because I really wanted Sanders. So I was worried about Sanders' job security. And now that Bont's out, he could average 25 touches. And then even if Bont's back 6 weeks later, you're going to make a bit of cash on him because his break-even Sanders is 63, which I know that's pretty high, but if he's averaging 25 touches, I reckon you got to have him in.
Everyone's running Hornet Rankin, right?
I don't have Rankin. I've
got Rankin and Hornet,
I'm a bit worried in just injuries or suspension.
Yeah, but everyone had the same thing about Heaney last year and he just exploded.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
Hit us up in the comments what you think of any SuperCoach thoughts, vibes, what you're doing, what you think we should be doing, but we'll be talking about SuperCoach throughout the season across most of our shows, but we are done and dusted here on AFL Today for the Midweek Madness. So, of course, thank you to the Sydney Swans for organising the Ollie Florent interview and, of course, Lachlan McKirdy for joining us. He will be a fixture on this show throughout the season. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you subscribe to AFL Today on YouTube. Follow us on X, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for more footy content all season long. Aussie Rules Today on Facebook for all those playing at home. Make sure you subscribe and star to all of our shows on your podcast app. Cricket Today, AFL WTA, which will be back later this season. Hold all tickets for racing and True Bloods. Got the boys from True Bloods on. They did their big preview of the opening round game last night. So if you want pure Sydney Swan stuff, go check out True Bloods. Of course, thank you to Leo.
Thank you.
Thank you to the stats guy for jumping on.
Cheers.
Of course, producer Gerald behind the camera. And of course, thank you to our sponsors, Tab. Their AFL's missed by 1. If your disposals leg misses by 1, Tab will still pay you out as a winner. Download the Tab app. Now make sure, what are you really gambling with? And of course, we will catch you on Thursday. Well, these two gentlemen will catch you on Thursday for the Sydney-only opening round preview because both games are in Sydney. We'll see you on Thursday for the team show.
Tonight's game's going to be epic.
Missed by 1 on the AFL? With Tab, you can stay in the game. Miss by 1 on any disposals leg, and Tab will still pay you out as a winner. Tab. We're on.
Imagine what you could be buying instead.